thing, the problem with that is that technically, I'll fight people on that. The problem is that without religious entities or without religion, the religion entity, you can't really arrive to any sort of morals that people would agree on. You'll end up with you still will end up with some kind of religious entity at the end. Like you'll have your cults, they'll be worshipping whatever they want to worship. They'll have their own agreed upon terms and so on and so forth.
Religion, I feel, instead of being completely eradicated in time, I think it will just change form. People will go from worshipping gods to worshipping things.
Well, people already worship things if you think about it.
As an aspect.
Yeah.
That's true. A lot of people worship technology.
The problem is that worship is not exactly a
worship of
very well-defined term.
The celebrity cults that have happened quite often.
Yeah. I mean, you have people now identifying with the brand they buy. Like, you got the iPhone fan club, and you got the Android fan club, and so on. That's how it ended up at. That also the problem.
Good for big business, right?
It's good for business, definitely. It's good for Apple.
Everything, like almost everything that like socially and culturally has destroyed us has been profitable for big business.
Yeah. And again, like business is a moral free zone, so whatever happens there. I think maybe that's why you have this whole phrase that is
big business is accepting people who aren't all just one type of person. And maybe the reason why religion isn't as popular nowadays
it's separating
is because, if you don't talk over me, I would appreciate that. And maybe the reason why religion isn't as popular nowadays is because they're not as accepting of people from a broad basis. They only want a very narrow type of person. And unfortunately, or fortunately, people
to care
aren't
about
that simple.
Such groups.
So when they say, hey, you're gay, you deserve to go to hell, maybe that's why the church is falling off, because they kind of suck. And they've historically just murdered a bunch of people. And like that's been their whole thing, is like trials, subjugate women, let's like proliferate slavery. Like the Catholic Church was behind like a huge portion of the slave trade. And it's hard to historically like.
We're not saying the Catholic Church is ever good. We weren't saying anything about that.
Okay, I thought you guys were like simping the church or something.
I'm not. No, definitely not. I'm not a Christian again. I'm willing to have the moral argument, but it's a longer tangent.
More and more, so they have a more dedicated consumer base. It's easier to market a product to let's say the black community more than it is to just market it to the community. It's a lot harder to market things to just everybody in general.
Well, I mean, they already do that. They basically min-max. So they would have like a section for like this time, like in a specific areas, they will only market what that specific area likes.
Talking about like representation in gaming and how like more people of color are being represented.
I mean, corporate.
That's not
everything.
That's not necessarily
media or outside of media, regular products too. Like there's so much. It's so
again. Well, what you need
obtuse or very subtle. You can see they're specifically advertised.
Regardless of what they do,
very dedicated.
Regardless of what they do, like there are still companies that they want to make profit again, and what do you call it? Cooperation is a moral free zone. Right, it's only covered by whatever legalities there are within like a certain company.
As long as you make enough money, you can supersede just about any idea.
Sure.
Yeah.
But like, what's the point of all this? And like talking about the cultural degradation of society and things like that. A corporation is meant to serve profits. Okay, but
now that
it's such a bad thing that they're not.
Yes, because lobbying exists.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which have no morals have brought that moral free zone mentality into our governments, and the world's governments via control, because of course you take over America.
Okay, but what?
Well, I mean, the government system itself is also that
controls all their territories.
Okay, but what things that are moral free that you don't like? Because from my perspective,
Nestle murdering many, like, thousands of African infants for a profit.
Well, I mean, the overwork of the Indian people by Apple so that they can produce, as they can maximize their production.
Elon Musk starting coups in Bolivia for lithium mines.
Very much. Twitter and Facebook driving the Middle Eastern world basically down the hill.
I'm trying to like ground
the military operations that are happening also everywhere by the US so they can destabilize every other area under the sun. So that they ensure they stay.
I don't
they
think
can take control of them economically without actually just colonizing them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Social degradation. I'm just worried that you guys are falling into like a verbiage trap.
Okay, how about this? Okay, no. Can we have this? Can we have this? All right. So, are you claiming to have a well-defined, objective moral basis?
No.
Well, then what? Okay, what do you understand when he says, or when I say, societal degradation?
I'm not sure. That's what I'm trying to pin you guys on. You just are throwing up these big terms.
Social degradation is people don't care about each other anymore in the slightest. Someone will die in front of you on the street, and you'll just walk over them because they won't make your vague numbers go up. To me, social degradation is communities being
cultural
gone.
Neutrality leads
because corporations, basically, especially with
you're standing in front of me. Can you give me some space?
The more isolated you are, the more data they can get from you, the more money they make. They actively want people to be isolated. They actively want people to be alone.
I'll just block this guy, I guess.
With like dating apps and whatnot. They don't want people to find happiness like community and family, because finding that is one
Stop being an idiot next time
and sell to you.
See, like, these are the things though that like I'm worried about is you keep packaging those like these big words together, like social degradation and finding family and the importance of church and society, and then the importance of having like standing morals. And then you don't like elaborate any further on what that actually means.
Well, maybe if you listen to us,
I would presume like that the person I'm talking to is educated enough on these subjects to understand what I'm saying.
Again,
so I would talk in terms of somebody relatively educated on the subject if I'm speaking with somebody about the subject. I'm not going to break down everything I'm saying unless I'm specifically asked to.
It's fine. No, hold up. I'm willing to define the terms that I'm using. Is that when you are here placing your judgment on us, which is a moral judgment right now, you're very concerned about the terms we use because they might contradict something that you believe in. Do you have a solid, objective, moral basis for you to object on whatever I say?
Anybody? Does anyone have a...
Don't deflect. I really want a yes or no.
Epistemology is something that isn't grounded in like this objective...
okay, then we're asking, do you
think in those
believe
simple terms.
So why do you have a problem with us discussing it then?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you keep using these words which allude to things that could be really hurtful and exclusive to people.
They could.
Well, they could. I could be hurtful to other people, and I will be honest with you. I do not care that much. If someone misunderstands me, it's their problem, not mine. They can come here and ask me, what do you want to understand?
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize the use of your words and try to think about how that might affect you. I understand your perspective and just not giving a shit.
How about this? I'll tell you one thing.
If you care about being a good person.
Well, again, you don't really have a solid definition of morals. You cannot tell me I'm a good person or not.
Utilitarian perspective.
Why is your definition of morals greater than anybody else's?
No, I'm telling you, you do not... I'm not putting myself on any stool here. I'm telling you, you here do not have the monopoly on it.
Such a stool.
All right. If I want to argue morals, I will and I can.
Yeah.
But I'm not here to do that exactly. I'm just putting out the factors that will eventually lead into whatever destabilization or the results or that we are dealing with right now. Which again, people don't agree on what morals are. People are more busy with only themselves. People are not, well, they don't cater to others again. That's a product of the second one.
Okay, man.
What do you call it?
You can like go on your tangent about like a moral objectivity or whatever,
And then
but like
down the
I was
conversation
standing
when they
here for like
start
5 minutes,
to be
and you guys were
quiet.
just talking about how great the church is and how
I never said great. I never said anything about the church is great.
Anything good about the church?
For fuck's sake.
Or
Uh,
idea of
That may not
morality.
be
We
like
never
you.
said that was a good morality. That's just
We were not talking. Hold up. Let's make things clear. We were not arguing a specific set of morality as the objective morality. I can go into that conversation. That is not what I'm doing. I'm just saying these are factors. You liking how I'm saying the factors or not is kinda up to you.
Oh fuck! I got a concert.
Sure, just I would suggest being more thoughtful about your choice of words.
I'll tell you one thing. I use my words very carefully.
Bro, I'm trying to
Be more thoughtful.
Alright? I'm very careful about the words I use. And every single one of them is intentional.
in here thinking we were talking good on it.
Yeah, you just have some hate boner for churches, and I don't know why. Or maybe I may know why actually. But again, I could go into the moral
I
arguments.
don't agree with the Catholic Church. I don't agree with the Southern Baptist Church either, and I live in the South.
I'm not even Christian.
But it's definitely true that they did create a more collective idea of morality. Like, what the fuck?
The thing is, so another reason with it is that it's like it's kind of an identity. So like, there's something right now with what people call identity crisis in some way, shape, or form, and you'll find. Yeah, and the problem is that because identity usually gets linked with something, and it's usually either a collective or an ideology. Yeah, the problem is that the collective now is mostly on the internet and is very vague. It is a very vague definition. So that someone who attribute himself to a specific identity, in a lot of times, doesn't even know which group he's in. Because it's still very vague.
What's good, dude? What's up?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Holy shit, I'm lagging.
What's with like this whole corporate
What's going on?
like packaging of so much of the human experience is
You want to shit? Take
that those human experiences are now not available to the poor. So, especially when you look at the increasingly
Well,
prevalent lower class,
it's also what's sold as like worth having.
Sold now? Yeah, everything that's considered worth having is considered having to be bought nowadays. Which, once again, is even harder with the commodification of love. Bringing in those ideas of like.
Yeah, I mean, I heard about
find this place with.
like an AI service now that is basically you can have your AI wife or husband.
The L is a little bit fat.
That shit fucking
and,
scares me, man.
The O
That's hilarious to me.
Basically,
centered,
it's
and,
it's
also
basically
the top of this
what it's
E is fat
doing.
as
I
hell.
feel like this is some very,
No,
very
I'm
roundabout
trying to give you
way of
constructive
going to
criticism.
eugenics. I feel
Sorry.
But it's already happened. I mean,
it's going to weed out
too late.
genetics in the gene pool.
Too late.
Genetics as in anybody with like unattractive traits, which is fucking scary.
Did I even know? Did I even get?
I mean, that is definitely still being studied to this day. I think I started like, I don't remember where it started. It's like somewhere within the World War II or the First World War. But I know that Germany like started to like breed basically the typical Ubermensch, if you want to call it.
Generally, the idea of weeding out bad genetics, in the
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
genetics
shit
are
like
a
that.
social construct. There are technically no
They are,
bad
yeah,
genetics,
absolutely.
other
Well,
than like
sort of.
genes that will like ultimately affect how you live your life.
Yeah.
Or like,
Yeah.
how it affects-
There is a valid argument, like even in religious discourse,
AI wife shit.
there is a valid argument where like
Multiplication of love, the rich will like eventually reach
Oh.
where the rich are only allowed to create, and that's gonna be
technically that's already the case. I mean,
creating.
look at most societies that are like within the first world, if you want to call it that, and look at the birth rate of the native. Not the immigrants.
Yeah, it's just no stopping.
constructive criticism.
It's increasingly. I guess Japan has it the worst, which is the bear.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Korea technically has it about as bad, if not worse.
Really, Korea.
As well.
I thought Korea was doing fine.
As bad, if not worse. No, they're not doing fine. You see, they invented League of Legends, and we know what that.
Oh yeah, right. Okay, yeah. As someone who played that game for like 2 years or something, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly how long I played it.
Generally, Southeast Asia, as far as birth rates go, is fucked. Unless you're India. Unless you're India,
Yeah.
you're fucked as far as birth rates go. China's birth rates are, nosediving in urban areas, and they don't even.
Africa is still doing fine, but they're going a little down.
Yeah, Africa.
And I think
fine just because.
yeah.
Third world.
So the reason these happening is another reason is that what is worth having and what is the life worth living. Because again, like with the
So complicated that it's kind that itself is terrifying. How complicated that question became.
yeah, it's
Like the freedom of it now, but I don't quite.
well, I mean,
It's fine.
back
in like
with freedom, you kind of get you also have like the burden of basically developing your own system from the ground up, and that usually tends not to be the easiest.
Oh, here you go. You can have it.
It's
I'm leaving,
definitely because nowadays
leaving,
before
so I'm gonna give it
before
to
it was
you.
a case of
Okay, thank you.
the American dream. If you were an American,
Yeah,
that was ever.
thank God I'm not.
Basically, and technically, it is my goal. That's all I want is to create a little pocket of
Ouch.
humanity for myself. Of
I have my
where I can
reasons.
teach people where I can
I'm a Middle Eastern, if you know what I mean.
teach that family to be the best that they can and do better than I ever did myself for my children, if I ever have children,
Yeah.
of course. That's really all I ask for in life is to be living okay, rather at least somewhat comfortably. I don't ask to have a large mansion because that doesn't follow me to my grave and it
Yeah.
follow me past it. So why the fuck should I care? I mean, if I could, it would be nice.
Yeah.
Truly,
You wouldn't say no, but I mean, is it really worth like basically putting blood money on your hands? Probably not.
yeah, exactly. Placing blood money in my hands and sacrificing my life to it, like fuck that shit. It's not. That's not happiness. That's not humanity. That's not what humanity is based off of.
Well, I mean, the problem.
We're based off of how big your mansion was. It was based off of
Probably how many?
do for your community.
Yeah, something like that. The problem here is that again the
Yes, it was of course how good could you do for yourself.
it's like
Tied into how good you could do for your community.
yeah, but there's also like the what do you call it? So this defines like the whole happiness thing, right? Which like has its implications. It's like okay, so if I have so and so, I will be happy, and some people do achieve that, and some people end up being happy with it. Some point. The problem is that now you have is the hedonistic sort of viewpoint of how people live their lives.
Oh,
And basically that's just going after the high, like if that's how you can look at it. It's just going after the high. Like even happiness in my opinion is some form of getting high on something in some way.
yeah.
So if people want to be happy all the time, then like any form of sadness is extremely bad. Any form of suffering is bad.
Yeah. I think hedonism has also been impacted by corporate ideas as well.
Well, it's the one that they hammer on the most. It is very effective. It is really effective too, because people like convenience stuff.
Happiness,
I know it's probably like nothing to you.
whenever possible, in the long run. As in, you want to be able to die the happiest man alive. Is basically what hedonism's.
No, you're gonna be dead.
Fucking
Be as happy as much as possible.
yeah, I know.
Feel it's gonna fuck you in the long run. You're not gonna be the happiest as long as possible. So don't do it, you know? Now it's just always be happy, never think, just consume is basically what hedonism's become. Which of course is the corporatized idea.
Yeah.
Which is why that will keep going for a while because it's good for business.
Go ahead, Hank.
I got a vision.
I think the major reason with when people say like find happiness is like they immediately go to material goods. They immediately go towards material things that make them happy.
I don't know if this still works.
Instead of ideals as well as like their mental image.
Funny thing is I have a quest and I don't even.
The major issue with it is like too many people go towards that kind of capitalistic, kind of corporate ideology that immediately brings them to the urge to just buy a bunch of shit to go to that kind of high, that dopamine rush.
Pretty much, yeah.
Of having a bunch of stuff, and then it fades away, and they don't learn the mistake that they made, where buying material goods is only going to be very temporary, versus mentally training yourself to just be happy with yourself
the best you possibly can.
Yeah,
and be the best that you can.
Well,
instead of training themselves to do that, they
Like,
get stuck
I
in
love-
that
I love to
ideology
travel
of material
more
wealth.
in my life. I'd love to see new cultures. I'd love to see new foods too. I love cooking. Personally, it's a passion of mine. I love to cook.
can't relate. I'm a professional fat ass.
Yeah.
He loves to
I
cook.
love
You
to
love
cook.
to eat.
I love food. I love culture. So I'd love to travel like around the world, but it's funny. The only places I always see this idea of so many places like Italy. It's always I want to go see the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I want to go see the fucking Roman Colosseum. I don't give a shit.
No, I want to go to the back alley pizzeria and hopefully not get stabbed.
And it's just
Exactly. I want to go to this random ass place, middle of nowhere, Rome or Italy, wherever, you know, and just try it. I want to get immersed in the culture. I don't want to do all the touristy bullshit because I don't want to do what's just marketed to me. I want to experience things, learn things for myself, truly enjoy life and humanity in all of its glory. Of course, seeing its past achievements is certainly one of those things, but experiencing culture and food for myself, not whatever's been marketed to me as this is what you want to do. That's the essence of humanity. Not this bullshit of I want to make a big mansion and then travel the world and build a giant economic empire. Fuck that shit.
I mean, it would be cool, but yeah, why do you want to do that?
Like,
the problem, so
achievable in my life. That's not what I want to devote my life to. I just want to make a pocket of the world where I can say I was happy to build it, or at least I want to have land and experiences and knowledge that I can happily say I did this.
Yeah,
This is mine, and I'm proud of it.
so like what?
I feel like that idea is so dead nowadays.
Well, the problem that happened with this, the problem with this right now is why this is the state, if you want to say, of humanity currently. Is again with the like I'm talking west side of the world, because like for me here, I'm from the Middle East. I'm very close to Saudi Arabia and Iraq and Syria, and I'm like in the middle of them. Like here, we didn't have the Enlightenment, if you want to call it. We didn't have the demolish of church. You know, we're not, most of us, not exactly. Yeah. So Nietzsche actually did say, as much as I would like to be educated about this, I'm actually not. I'm not much of a reader kind of guy yet. I'm planning to, but I'd like to go off my ignorance and on stupid thoughts and learn from other people eventually. But what I learned about him, like when he had that scene, like God is dead, in one of his books, I forgot which one, is that the sentences that follow it is basically we basically destroyed all the reasons that humanity have that keeps it alive. And then he ends up with talking a bit optimistically about, now we have a chance to build our own system and so on. What he describes basically is that we destroyed the why. We destroyed the why. Basically, you no longer have the why. If you don't have the why, you cannot. If you have a why, you can bear anyhow, or you can. I forgot what the sentence was. He said it as well. The problem now, we don't have a reason, so the reason, the why that people live for doesn't exist anymore.
Too great there, and the lenses are.
And now you have to make your own. And what people started to make their, and of course, corporos stepped in and were like
you can see if you
this is here's your why. Give me money, basically.
Yeah. Well, there's another reason
that our idea of the why has been so corporatized. The human ideas are fucked.
One of the reasons religion, I guess, like hits very close to humans is basically, I guess if you wanna, it has a connection with the moral question, but that's not what I'm intending to do here. It's basically your actions and your suffering has a meaning. There is a purpose for it. And that purpose is not from you. It's like you're gonna die eventually. You don't last forever, something like this. But the reasons that you're fighting for are permanent. Your actions have a permanent value. And so, like, even you can argue about that. Even if you made your own purpose, if you will, it is still kind of a temporary purpose. Like, it's still just when you die, it is all for nothing. Which is like, you also got nihilism to blame as well. Is that this whole thing is just for nothing. There is no reason. There's nothing behind it. It came from nothing and it's just gonna end up with nothing. And all your suffering means jack shit, basically. If you want the cruel way of looking at nihilism, yeah.
Yeah, like philosophical awakening with nihilism, and that's what led me to this dream of just simply creating something for myself after I'm gone, and realizing the death of humanity of no one. It's nihilistic now because nobody strives for something that does stay after they're gone. So yeah, if your only goal in life is to own a big mansion and a bunch of money, that means nothing when you're gone. So yeah, those people would live a very nihilistic existence.
No. Wireless.
Because they don't know one strives.
It gets more pronounced then, yeah.
Wait, what?
Fucking
I mean,
great,
like,
dude.
even with like the social media fame and whatnot, which people strive so often
is
for
the actual, like,
nowadays, is
fidelity
considered
better
so
than virtual
that will be
desktop?
gone too once you're gone, unless you make
I can
something
tell you
truly
this:
amazing.
it's better than the index. And
Well,
my index
I
is
think
wider.
the main thing with like nihilism is like the belief,
No,
as far as I
never even
remember,
installed it. I
it's the
just
belief
installed
where it's
Steam
like
Link, and now
you have no meaning
to my computer.
So there's essentially like no point, like
Yeah.
just
There's no actual meaning for anything. Like, it is so some nihilistic thought, like, I guess, attitudes get a little ridiculous to the point that even your words that you're saying right now don't have meaning. You just you don't even no, that's determinism, but which is also a byproduct of nihilism. It's like you yourself, your thoughts, these are just like things are pumping together. It's like the ball is hitting the other ball and it's moving and it's hitting the other ball. There's no actual. You're not thinking right now.
2160.
That is what it's saying.
What's the FOV?
So it's
Um,
Ooh, let me check.
it's a bit of a degradation, in my opinion.
It's kind of an idea of like there's no higher
The
consciousness
Quest 2
as
is
well
just
of
the
like
index.
humans
okay, so
literally
the-
just
Wait,
they
what's the horizontal?
live, die,
Horizontal is
live. Like it's just they live and die.
Yeah.
There's no higher.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a
No, no, no,
philosophy that
horizontal
even
is
so much as
direction down,
rejects the
fucker.
idea of philosophy.
Which is why it's fallacious, in my opinion.
Okay, so
But that's a different discussion.
It really is.
way better. But the vertical is
Personally,
like,
the best way I
weird
see
'cause it
myself is
starts,
like a
higher
comedic
up
absurdist. I
on
find
the
just about
bottom
anything in the
of
universe to be
screen.
funny because of just how
So you
fucking
can see less
ridiculous
down
it is.
below, but you can see like basically.
Yeah.
yeah.
Which it does help
Which has
make
a-
life something one hell of a
G2,
comedy
G2,
show. To me, I find
G2.
if there's a
Yeah, that's the
god,
way the
he's a
Quest is
very,
too,
very
actually. I
funny.
have
Build it.
all
Being
same
sick,
problem.
man.
I can see
Uh,
into my skull.
and
on the
I'd like to have a
Quest
drink with
if
him when I
look at-
die.
but
It's about as
I
simple as that
easily
goes.
Oh no.
I would like to have a discussion. But
So basically, imagine
like
at
so
the,
like even if even
at
if
the
you
tip
have
of
like
your
a small
nose,
purpose
like right in
where
the
it's like
tip
I
of
just
your
want to
nose,
build
that's
like I just want to
ridiculous.
build a mansion and die in there. That's
Yeah,
still
I
technically
have
not nihilism.
used- Look.
Yeah. The fact that you have a goal,
Because it's
it just denies nihilism to begin with.
Set it up correctly.
My
with the
personal
correct
belief is like
modifications
you
and
aren't really
accessories,
given
you
a
can have
purpose.
unlimited battery life
You are born
wirelessly.
without
You can
one.
use
The
index controllers.
whole thing that makes life so important,
It's
at least to
probably the
my
best wireless
idea
option
on
to
it,
have.
is the fact that you are making your own
Mhm.
purpose.
Yeah.
That everyone on
And
this
it
planet
Give me
has
a
made
second.
their
My
own
girl
purpose,
right
and
now
that's how
wants
the
to hear my
world has
voice because she's gonna sleep. Give me a
become what it is. As bad as it is right now, without the self purpose, everything would just kind of seem very dull and boring if the simple answer was God did it.
Well,
Do you know, like,
not necessarily, but
Distracted.
that's a different discussion. I don't want to go in there because that's what we're
yeah,
you know, I am a religious. And I'm willing to discuss like what I understand of my theology, and so on. But it's really hard, you know.
yeah.
The good example that I heard once is that you can't really talk to someone about the diet of Chinese people if he doesn't believe in Chinese people. You know, first of all, we're gonna have to go through that. Why do anyone believe in God and so on and so forth. That gets a little complicated.
I'm
Um,
about.
Yeah, it does get.
It's not very complicated. It's just
The in and of
Nice
itself
seeing
is
you
a
or
tough
meeting you.
discussion a lot of the time, just because there's so much
What?
personal stake a lot of people have and a lot of bias. It's part of it.
What?
yeah.
It because it's just as well as just the fact that it's an issue
You're
of
the
faith
only
and
one
belief,
just
not an
chilling
issue of like
among the
pure logic, like a lot
children.
of like.
Not really. You
philosophical
can.
discussions
You still
and
can
like
find.
societal and
You can
cultural
find a
issues.
lot of logical arguments for religion.
There is a lot of logic.
There is a lot.
Not just a pure
You
logic
seem quiet
discussion,
and
like a lot of like societal
on
and
the
culture
couch.
stuff gets. You know, like a
Having
lot of.
fun.
It depends on who you're discussing it with.
So
How old are
B
you,
happened because like A happened, like B happened because A happened, because of C
Well, I'm way
aspect.
older than that.
And then theology
That happens.
becomes a mixture to me of like history and
Yeah.
culture because of how much
Alright,
that
as
really
soon as you
fuses
get money,
together, and
just
as well
buy the rest
as
of
Yeah.
the
you know
things
beliefs
you
of faith
need
and
to play
whatnot. And there's a lot of
PC.
I think
VR is
statements.
way more fun than Quest VR. Well, VR.
That's again. That would have to be its own discussion. Because
Yeah.
I will not go the I think route.
Yeah.
I do not. There are a few of them. The ones that are like a bit hard to grasp. It depends on what kind of person you are. There's few of them that I cannot explain myself very well
Yeah, I'm back now. What?
yet. I'll have to do a bit more training. But I guess we can go back to the whole society thing.
Wait,
Um,
repeat
Yeah, so the moral degradation.
Well, as it's concerning how fast it happened.
Yeah. So
I remember in 2019, people cared about each other at least a little bit. They enjoyed each other's company. You know, you could feel humanity in people. You could see someone's hopes, dreams.
It's
their care for others, their love for others. You can see it. You can feel it. You can hear it.
Because I remember I had
as well as art. You could see the same thing. It was there was passion behind more often than not. There was passion behind something someone created.
A lot.
And the pandemic happened.
Oh yeah, that shit has like.
Yeah, the pandemic did put like an acceleration like shot on that. Just go crazy.
Now in current year 2023, I feel nothing from most people.
I would have
when
to
I look
agree with
in
you on
when I
that
look
one.
to somebody and I look into someone's eyes, I just see dread and vanity and vapidness. Now, granted, I live in a suburban area in the southeastern United States.
Yeah.
So I'm probably not a very good control group for this because that is it's stereotypically a very shitty place to be if you want to find good people to be around. Because I'm in Florida too, so it's not just the whole Southern Baptist judgy bullshit. It's also like California, super vain California people over here as well.
Oh
So I
no.
have about the worst mixture of people you could ever do if you're like me and you don't seek vanity, just humanity. Which it's funny because with the holiday season coming up and Christmas coming up and all that. This year, I'm literally more so excited more than anything else is just to be able to sit down and have a crab broil with my family.
Wait, where did he go?
Yeah.
And I like to just sit down and have some time with my family.
I noticed myself also leaning towards that, like as I grow up. So I think it's also like maybe it has to do with as you grow up. Because you develop your ideas like relatively. Oh,
had crab in a long time.
he died.
Oh shit.
We lost him. We can buy a new one, I guess. Since like maximum consumerism.
Yeah, that's probably gonna happen soon. Maybe not soon, but eventually, where people just clone each
Well,
other off
we know there's like the artificial womb thing going on, and
yeah,
like one of the people that I followed at one point, still like bend into like what they might theorize that might happen, is that maybe pregnancy gonna be seen as oppressive.
which means love can become.
No.
It is.
No.
It's oppressive.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't understand it.
That's already happened.
I used to not understand it. At least I don't understand it. But I guess when I learned a little bit about Christian theology, it's like, oh, I see what your problem is. Because I talk to a lot of anti-religious sort of women here or feminists here, and I'm like, you don't have religion. You don't have a religion problem. You have a Christianity problem, in my opinion. But again, this is me shitting on Christianity, but that's a little different discussion.
I don't agree with corporate feminism and corporate leftism as well, because I think that in the mid 2010s onward, the corporations have been trying to defang the left for a long time.
Well, yeah, I mean the the pendulum will basically come back now. So now some companies are starting to lean more, I guess, right, if you want to call it. Even though, if you want my actual opinion, and I know that statement from, let's say, a politician, like someone who's a political analysis guy, very smart, about like what is different between right and left, and really in general I don't think there is any difference. It's just the right is a little bit slower than the left, and what he said about it is like basically the reason you have like these, what do you call them, like gatekeepers in these groups, it's not to ensure that no one gets in, it's really to ensure that no one gets out. You're only locked between, like, let's say, the options that you have right now, and if you try to think outside of these options, you're gonna be kicked back in. Yeah, you're gonna be kicked back in. So yeah, left and right, in general, really are not very different.
I think what kind of happened was corporations, they want to keep everybody in their favor, so I think they're trying to pull off a mid swing with this pendulum metaphor.
Yeah, as a corporate, you want the most amount of customers for the longest amount of time, right?
We got left-leaning communities to agree with us. They're now pro-corporate. Now the right is anti-corporate because we leaned left.
Yeah.
Which means now we got to lean a little bit right to get the right pro-corporate as well.
I mean, one of the reasons
this in less and less extreme,
and for some people that may sound cruel to say, but one of the reasons is that some corporations are starting to lean right again, is that really the left groups again are very sort of niche-ish groups that they're advocating for, if you want to call, or like appealing to. And the problem, like, if you're a company like Starbucks, like, how many coffee cups can you drink in a day? When you're targeting the small group and isolating the big one, from a corporate standpoint, you're basically putting yourself.
Gonna start heading right just because union bad. They do not fucking want that union to happen. They really don't fucking want that union to happen.
Well, I mean,
they'll do
company definitely does not want to lose money.
That union happen.
You know, and they want to make the most amount of money. And how do they make the most amount of money? By paying their employees the least amount of money, and also paying for their products also the least amount of money. But that will change. Like, that doesn't really live for very long.
Yeah, it really doesn't. It's not sustainable.
Oh, no.
Like, you look at our biggest industries that truly provide the foundation, well, I guess just the infrastructural industries, like, of America. Those have been around for a long, long ass time. But shit like Starbucks, they're eventually going to be superseded by somebody else who can offer things more conveniently while fucking over their people who work for them. Just enough to where they make the most profit without having to risk people leaving or unionizing.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, in the 80s, and 90s, everyone thought that, oh, Walls are the great, best thing ever, and then Amazon happened.
Hello, Aaron.